Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the telescope.
What's up, everybody? Everyone in this place, if you could do a handstand, I want to see your feet up in the air right now. Wave them around, that's right.
Hello, welcome to the Telescope Podcast, the show where we look at geek culture through the spyglass of faith. Thank you so much for listening. Matthew Seipel Anderson here. Well, yesterday was the Super Bowl, a banner day for the NFL. It was the lowest scoring Super Bowl ever. The MVP, Julian Edelman, did not even get a single touchdown. But you know what? That's okay. Because even if the big game wasn't that eventful, there were some sweet TV spots for some nerdy blockbusters that are heading our way that have just made my mouth water. We will be discussing those, and a little bonus for you all. I'm going to give a little update on a new Star Trek show that is going to feature our beloved Captain Jean-Luc Picard. So, tons of stuff coming up, but before we discuss future films and TV that may, metaphorically or literally, attempt to predict the future of mankind, let's talk a bit about some cutting-edge science that is sure to shape the future of our species. Well, today's story in the science segment is coming from NPR, and the title of the article is New U.S. Experiments Aim to Create Gene-Edited Human Embryos. Now, if you've listened to the show or been paying attention to the science news, there was a scientist in China who just crashed through all the barriers of research and medical ethics and just went ahead and made some babies that supposedly have been gene-edited to be resistant to HIV. And that was just really condemned by the scientific community. Well, there's a scientist here in the good old US of A, and I don't know how to pronounce his name. I will attempt, though. I will attempt. And why will I attempt? Because it's like Everest. It's there to attempt. All right, Dieter Egli. I just gotta say right now, Dieter Egli, I'm sure that name made you stronger when you were in grade school. Anyway, it must have, because now he's a developmental biologist at Columbia University, and he is trying to determine whether Crispr can safely repair mutations in human embryos to prevent genetic diseases from being passed down for generations. So what he's doing, basically, I'll just try to put this in my own words, is he's taking human embryos, fertilizing them, and then he also inserts this CRISPR. Now, I've determined that the next show I do, I'm going to dive into explaining CRISPR, because I'm really fascinated by it, but I'm just going to be honest, I'm not prepared to do that at this moment. I believe CRISPR is biological, and they figured out how to program it, and my understanding at this point is that so they take sperm that's been donated by a guy who was born blind, so he has like a congenital condition of blindness, a blindness gene that's going to be passed on to anyone he creates, all his offspring. And so they take a sperm from this guy, and they insert it into a human egg along with CRISPR. And CRISPR has been programmed to find the gene for blindness and eliminate it. And then what happens is, in the normal course of the combination of the male DNA and the female DNA will fill in that gap, and the child will be born without the blindness gene. Now, this is all cool, and it sounds like it could do a lot of good for our species. I don't feel great about fertilizing human eggs and then aborting them. But anyway, the show's not an abortion, pro-life versus abortion debate. But definitely this is some cutting-edge stuff, and it's going to have ramifications for generations to come. And I have lots more thoughts, but that is going to be all for today's science segment. All right, let's dive into our feature content. So during the Super Bowl, there were trailers for Alita, Battle Angel, Captain Marvel, and of course the big blockbuster, the big Mac Daddy of all blockbusters, Avengers, the new Avengers. Why I can't think of the name. Avengers Endgame. Yes. Why didn't I write that on the top of this piece of paper? I don't know. Anyway, so I'm going to go through these in the order that they're going to be released. I just think that makes the most sense. And then I'll end with our Patrick Stewart new Picard article, which is very exciting news as well. So, all right. Alita Battle Angel releases on February 14th. So just right around the corner, days away. And you know what? If you have a nerdy lovebird in your life, you can take them on a Valentine's Day date to see Alita Battle Angel. And yeah, I don't know whether I actually suggest that idea or not, but you know your love interest better than me, so we'll see. Okay, so here's my thoughts on this. I'm super intrigued by this movie. I think it has huge potential. Number one, I'm just excited because it's not Marvel or DC. At least I don't think it is. So it's just something fresh. And I really think that this story could have some amazing emotional pull on the audience. It's set in a dystopian future after some kind of massive conflict. And it seems like there's a journey of self-discovery. There's going to be a lot of family dynamics. Probably some political stuff, exploration of class warfare, because there's like the upper class and the lower class, the planet's just a big junk pile. And anyway, so the movie looks visually stunning, and it could have some amazing emotional moments if it doesn't lose itself in all the CGI karate. So there you go. Those are my thoughts about that film. I am really looking forward to it. And I'll be anxious to see what the critics have to say and what I have to say after I view it. Captain Marvel will be released on March 8th. Again, I'm really looking forward to this one as well. I'm looking forward to all these. That just goes without saying. So the first trailer for this released, you know what I loved about the first trailer? I loved the fact that Captain Marvel fell through the roof of a Blockbuster video. And I just feel like, what better symbol of the 90s than Blockbuster? Anyway, it's now a dinosaur. Now think of the past. Anyway, so the first trailer teased the fact that Captain Marvel, who's this powerful female superhero, had some kind of a life on Earth, and she doesn't really remember it. And so it teased that this movie was going to be an origin story, which isn't too surprising, but it was interesting. So again, now here this next trailer that we saw during the Super Bowl, the opening shot shows her past life as a female Air Force pilot, and then after that, it's just a quick roller coaster ride of awesome-looking action shots. I mean, trains and battling the Skrulls, who are going to be a race that's like her nemesis, and flying an old-school Quinjet. Isn't that awesome to see that? And then, of course, Nick Fury looking fly and looking young. And I'm really curious just to see how they did that. Did he have to perform like every single scene in the movie with those dots all over his face so they could, digitally map a new, younger version of his face onto his face? I don't know, but it looks good, and can't wait to see it. So again, March 8th, 2019. And I must say, Marvel, you guys are geniuses, because all the serious fans are going to need, it's like required viewing to see this, because everybody knows, because of the post-credits scene on Avengers Infinity War, we all know that Captain Marvel is going to play a role in Avengers Endgame. And so we're all going to have to go see this movie because we all want to go see Avengers Endgame. And so you guys are very, very, very brilliant. All right, take my money now. Moving right along, speaking of Avengers Endgame, that is releasing on April 26th. I think it was originally going to be May, but they shifted around the release schedule. So again, the first trailer for this film basically said everything is desolate, which we knew. And it reminded us of where the characters were, and there's just not much hope happening in the universe. Now this new trailer, it shows the world reeling from the loss of 50% of its population, and it has Steve Rogers narrating, and he says, "Some people move on, but not us." And then we get another series of quick shots, kind of similar to the Captain Marvel trailer, a bunch of quick shots, and I feel like every trailer should tell its own little story. And so when I watched this trailer, I watched it over and over again. I think the story that this trailer is trying to show is that it's trying to show us who's in this movie. It's telling the story that here are the characters that are left, that we know the main characters, and they're coming together, they're regrouping, and they're getting ready to face Thanos. That's basically the story. So here are the characters that I spotted in the trailer. I spotted Captain America, Tony Stark, the Hulk, Nebula, Rocket, Thor, War Machine, Hawkeye, Black Widow, a blonde-haired female S.H.I.E.L.D. agent whose name I probably should know. I tried to Google it, but I couldn't find anything. And Ant-Man. So a few other quick takeaways that I'm just going to throw out there. Based on this trailer, we know that a little time has passed, because there's that one scene at the beginning as the camera is gliding over. There's that poster, and it says, something like, "What do we do after they've gone?" Or it kind of looks like it's a poster for like a support group, right? Like this thing happened, and now we have to pick up the pieces and grieve and move on. And then of course Steve Rogers says, "Some people move on, but not us. We're going to fight back." But to me, they had time to make posters, so a little bit of time has passed. They had time to set up a support group, so a little time has passed. But basically, we're right after the events of Avengers Infinity War. What else? Obviously, our heroes are regrouping, and there's an interesting scene where it shows Tony Stark and Nebula working side by side, welding and building some kind of machine. And I ask myself, what could they be building? And you think it can't be just a weapon or anything. It couldn't be there would be no spaceship big enough, there'd be no gun big enough. So to me, the only thing that makes sense is it has to be something based on the quantum realm tech that was a big part of the last Ant-Man and Wasp film. And, as you know, at the end of Ant-Man and Wasp, the post-credits scene was Ant-Man going into the quantum realm, and then outside, the other characters, melting away as Thanos' finger snap has taken effect. So that's a huge clue. And also, in the first Avengers Endgame trailer, you get that funny moment where, Ant-Man's outside the compound, like banging on the door, like, "Yo, what's up?" So I think that, and obviously Ant-Man doesn't have the scientific mind to use this tech on his own, but that Nebula and Iron Man do. So I think that's going to play a huge role in the next film. So I can't wait to see it, and I'm sure that all of you feel the same way. Last but not least today, wow, my voice is cracking. I'm going to drink a little tea here. It's dry up here in northern Minnesota. We just survived the polar vortex. It's funny. It's been cold up here my whole life, forever. This is the land where the ice age never ended. And then, it gets super, super cold. We have these cold snaps where it gets to 30 degrees below zero. Not uncommon, but now the weather is calling it the polar vortex. That sounds like the new expansion pack for World of Warcraft or something. Anyway, moving on. So this article comes from treknews.net, and it goes like this. Patrick Stewart, who will return to the role of Jean-Luc Picard in a new Star Trek series, recently discussed the show and his decision to return to the franchise that made him a household name in a recent interview with Yahoo. Stewart admits he's been offered several opportunities to reprise the role in various forms, including comedies, but has always turned those down, saying, "I'm done." He says he agreed to a meeting with the new producers of Star Trek because he wanted to respectfully explain to them why I was turning down the project. During that meeting, Stewart says he heard enough to realize something was very unusual, and he was intrigued. He asked CBS to put some story ideas together to help him understand what they envisioned. After reading what was put together, Stewart admits that saying he was hooked wouldn't quite be true, but he was extremely interested and wanted to know more. Stewart's fear that the series would be potentially too jokey, or Stewart's fear was that the series would potentially be too jokey, which he says he was not interested in. "I respect the work we did on Next Generation," he added. "It changed my life in every way," he said. He said of the 7 seasons he spent on Star Trek: The Next Generation. After asking a lot of questions and some contemplation, Stewart said he agreed to the role, remarking that he was struck by how clever these people were I was talking to. So it's just, it's very exciting, and just hearing that story, that he was drawn in by their idea for this new series, that in and of itself really intrigues me, and makes me pumped to see what the future holds for good old Jean-Luc. All right, well, I believe it is time to
Bring forth the telescope.
That's right, this is the show where we look at geek culture through the spyglass of faith. Well, trailers and teasers and TV spots are very, very exciting because they give us a glimpse of something that's to come, something new, something fresh, something unseen. It gives us something to anticipate, something to hope for, something to look forward to. And in the Bible, God's Word gives us similar teasers into a life to come and into the grander plan that God has. No matter what stripe of the faith you belong to, you believe that God has a bigger plan than just what this world shows us, that there's a long-term, eternal plan, and it's awesome. So I'm just going to read a couple of these verses that I consider to be like teasers, okay? Psalm 102, 25 and 27 says, "Of old you laid the foundations of the earth, and the heavens are the work of your hands. They will perish, but you will remain. They will all wear out like a garment. You will change them like a robe, and they will pass away. But you are the same, and your years have no end." And then 1 John 3:2 says, "Dear friends, now we are children of God, and what we will be has not yet been made known. But we know that when Christ appears, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is." So I just think, wow, there's two verses that dovetail together to show us some of God's long-term plan, that God's plan goes beyond the universe even, the age of the universe. A lot of people believe that eventually the universe will expand to a point where it can't expand any longer, and then it will collapse back in on itself. That very well may be the case, but if it does, God's plan will continue to go beyond this physical universe. And then, of course, getting to see God as he is just an amazing thing. And I can guarantee that he will not look like Q from Star Trek Next Generation. All right, thanks for listening. I'm going to cut myself off there. Love doing this show. Hey, January was the show's biggest month ever, and I'm so grateful to all of you for listening and for sharing this show with your friends, and and all your comments on Facebook. So just thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate it greatly, and look forward to many more episodes and lots of other good stuff to come. Thanks so much. God bless. Love you.